This is Lance, and welcome to our Let's Play of Neo Scavenger. We're going to go ahead and jump right into a new game. Alright, now with this particular character, we're actually going to be creating a well-balanced build that can be able to deal with both close as well as range combat, is going to be able to scavenge with a very high loot and safety rating, as well as be just generally well-rounded survivalist who can survive off the land if necessary without the need for a whole lot of scavenging. Now with that, let's just go ahead and start choosing our abilities, the first of which is the melee ability, giving us a better chance to hit as well as higher wound severity with the blows that we are landing, better defensive combat rating so that we can avoid the incoming blows, as well as weapons fire that will undoubtedly come our way. We can also sweep the legs, because you always want to sweep the legs, with that leg trip ability in combat. Next, we're going to grab the tracking ability. It's going to allow us to spot older tracks than we normally would be able to, as well as hide our tracks more efficiently. In case we're needing to lose an enemy, we can hide those tracks and hopefully sneak off into the darkness or into the woods. And with being able to spot tracks that are older than we normally would be able to, we can tell if an area is high traffic, if it's very active, and take note that we need to be prepared to engage enemies at a moment's notice, or if we want to avoid that particular area in lieu of a safer route or safer area. So we're going to go ahead and grab that, and grab the hacking ability next. That's not so we can hack up our enemies, that's so we can hack into the computers and other devices that we'll undoubtedly find throughout the landscape. And this is a high risk, high reward ability, because essentially if it's not giving you any income, or if you're not able to find any electronics, then you get no benefit from it. But if you are finding electronics, those files that are on them are highly lucrative potentially, and so we hopefully will be making a lot of good money off of it. Next, we're going to go with a more efficient, economic set of abilities, the trapping and botany. Usually not comboed, but in this particular build we want to get both of them. Trapping is going to allow us to use the lure in combat so that we can trap people that way, as well as making squirrel snares and being able to prepare animals. That means cutting up animals to get their hide for pelts and create coats out of them, which can turn into a lot of cash, as well as being able to cure meat, creating a lot of cash. The best, however, thing to take note of with getting the trapping ability is that you can create friction fire super early, creating a immediate light source that will allow you to scavenge with a better loot and safety rating. Now, no other ability is going to give you that particular benefit, whereas like strong, you can get a higher loot rating, but trapping, you get, early game light source, as well as the ability to cook your food immediately or boil water if you can find a container in which to boil the water, and obviously water. But you'll be able to find plenty of water, berries, and mushrooms with the botany ability. It's also going to allow you to immediately identify them so that you know if it's poisonous, if it's potentially lethal, or if it is the best thing that you could possibly eat at this moment, regaining you both your thirst as well as hunger and increasing those gauges. It's also going to allow you to create tannin tea. Tannin tea is a strong disinfectant for wounds. It will also increase your immune system if you drink it, and is always pure, unlike water, which can be poisonous or even infected with parasites or whatever other diseases may be in the water. You can purify it, and tannin tea will always be clean. Lastly, which will put us over our amount of points, is to get the lockpicking ability. It's going to allow us to create lockpicks and increase, when we are scavenging at a location that we can use the lockpicks, a higher loot rating and safety rating. And that will be amazing. But again, like the hacking, it is very hit or miss. And if we're not being able to use those, then it's not really helping us. Whereas some of the other abilities that we could choose from are more often used, but these are very hit or miss and extremely useful when they are able to be used. Now, we do have to choose a couple of flaws with this build, so we will grab the metabolism build or flaw. That is because our food and water intake rate increase with that, but again, we're going to have that fully covered with trapping and botany, so that's not a problem at all, and we'll actually increase our rate of healing slightly by choosing the metabolism flaw. Last, we're going to get the myopia trait or flaw. That is going to decrease our sight radius by 1 hex and increase our, decrease our ability to find hidden creatures. So we will have a hard time in close combat, especially when in the woods. But if we can survive long enough, there is the ability for us to actually overcome myopia by getting some eye surgery. And so that is our overall goal for this particular playthrough. Last long enough to make enough money to get rid of the myopia flaw. Now, without any further ado, let's just jump right into the game. Now, we wake up disoriented. I do want to go ahead and take this moment to say that I'm not going to read all of the text. If you would like, you're more than welcome to go ahead and pause the video, read the text. However, I will mention that I am going to highlight or point out a couple of items of interest in any text that is read, because I've read it so many times I don't want to have to read it verbatim every single time. So we do wake up in a cryopod, a cryosleep pod, and on the floor in front of that pod is an O5 painted on the ground. We do hear a loud scream erupting from down the hallway beyond the doorway. Something's coming and fast. We have several options of how to prepare for this encounter, what we want to do. We can jump out the window. We can use our botany knowledge of plants to interact, which will just, use knowledge of plants. We can hack to make the door stay shut so that we can lock the creature out, or we can prepare to fight it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to prepare to fight it. Alright, instinctively we drop to a defensive stance, and we end up delivering a fatal blow with our knee. We're wounded, but we're still alive. We got a little banged up. The game started, and immediately the player's upper right arm was scratched, and their upper left arm was battered. So, got a little bit of a scrape, but we'll check on our condition in a minute. What I do want to check on is we have this $1 value, 185 pound or kilogram. Sorry for y'all metric people. I'm, in the US and we tend not to use the metric system, but 185 kilogram Dogman corpse. Our hospital gown, looks like we got a wrist strap with Philip Kindred name on it, as well as a bronze talisman. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And looks like we're just going to search the console for some records, try to figure out exactly what's going on. So there's some information on these tanks, and in tank 05, which is the one we came out of, there is Philip Kindred. That does match up with the wristband that we have, so that must undoubtedly be us. There's no data on us, however. There is, however, some billing info for an account with Detroit Savings Bank. So I think we should also go to Detroit Savings Bank. Now, Detroit Savings Bank is right next to the medical facility that we are wanting to get some surgery from, so that is going to be where we want to head sooner as opposed to later, once we obviously leave here. But let's just search for some clues before we make that decision. All right, so there was something here that wasn't the dogman we'd bet, and it was some sort of mantle or cloaked figure, and looks like they walked up to our tank, walked up to the control console, let us out, and then abandoned us. Because, it wasn't bad that we're orphaned as a child. We need to be orphaned again as an adult. Feel bad now. Didn't wake us up. Just, I'm gonna wake you up and then, make some screaming creature yell at you and then abandon you completely. I just, I feel so like there's nothing familiar around and abandoned. Like the world is so empty. So empty. Alright. But we got ahead. We're gonna go ahead, just carry on, try to survive, get over our problems, and use our crafting menu to cut this dog man up. Now we're gonna actually use the shift key to cycle through these individual glass shards that we have here and find a lower condition one so that we can use it to carve this dogman corpse up. We can also, if we elect, use the known recipe list to try to figure out, oh, meat and hide from a dogman corpse gives us this particular item. Or, figure out what kind of recipe you want to use. But when doing that, you may inadvertently default to use an item that you don't want to, like using your crowbar when making a splint instead of simply using the medium tree branch that you wanted to. So do be careful with that. Also, interesting to take note that if you have the trapping ability, do use it when carving up any creature, because instead of getting 15 total small chunks of fur worth $1 each, you'll get at least with the Dogman corpse, you'll get a Dogman fur coat worth $225, and that will take care of the freezing temperature. All of these gauges want to be in the green except for the outdoor temperature. You want that to be in the middle, because if it's too cold, it'll be low. Too hot, you'll actually overheat and start sweating and get dehydrated quicker and potentially get heat stroke and stuff like that, or hypothermia if it's too cold. So this game is fairly interactive in that way, that you do need to moderate and control the temperature that you're at. So let's go ahead and just craft this coat, throw it on, and grab these glass shards, chuck a raw meat glass shard stack in a stack of 5 at most. So we got our full stack. I'm going to go ahead and destroy the meat. Now, the reason I'm destroying this meat, and I probably won't destroy a lot of other items, but meat specifically, is because meat throughout the world could potentially be human, and I don't want to inadvertently eat any human. I know that this meat is definitely not human. It's the Dogman, which is safe to eat. Melon heads, not safe to eat. Those are considered human, just for reference. But we're going to go ahead and just continue on. Go check out what the world has to offer now that we have our awesome fur coat on. Alright, looks like we found ourselves a little town. But this area right next to us, these two hexes, is very dense. So it's going to be some woods. We're going to go ahead and just head into the woods. Now, if you take note of the move cost of each of these, because it's flat or, non-difficult terrain, all of these hexes are going to cost 1 to move into. We do start off with 5 base move, and because we're barefoot, we get -1. So that is important to take note of. Additionally, crafting and certain other moves
Will only take up a percentage So you can actually perform more than 5 individual
things in a certain time limit. So we're going to go ahead and do that here at this particular location. I'm going to go ahead and use the woods twice to create some items. That's going to give us some wood, some small twigs, as well as large tree branches. I'm going to go into our crafting menu again. The first thing we're going to do is rip up our shirt. Since we are clothed with that, it is still cold and we will need clothes pretty immediately, but for right now, this is going to be more valuable torn up for us. I'm going to go ahead and actually tie 3 of these strings together to create a medium length of string. And then we're going to go ahead and create 2 quality torches. Now, the reason I'm actually adding the specific set of items that I am is because while I could just use dirty rags only, the handfuls of small twigs and bark are essentially infinite, and the rags are not. We actually, tore our clothes up for them. So these are more valuable at this point than the twigs and bark that are in the woods. So we're going to next go ahead and craft ourselves a little fire. And the way that we do that is 2 sticks and a small handful of twigs with the not tracking, but trapping ability to create that friction fire. We are then going to go ahead and create ourselves a second fire. If you notice, we're using a small point, 0.15 of a move or point, 2 of a move in order to create every one of these little things. Or in that case, 0.25 of a move. So it is important to take note of that. Now, additionally, when using a stick in a recipe, it will degrade unless it's being combined like that in a quality torch. So if we created a quality torch out of this stick, we'd actually get an 80% torch. So you do want to make sure, because medium-sized tree branches are essentially, as I said before, in regard to the twigs and bark, infinite, then there's really no point in using bad items when crafting. Use the highest quality. So we're going to use, as I said, the highest quality in crafting for the weapon that we're about to make. Additionally, if you end with point, 0.01 even, you can use that to perform a move that costs any amount. So even a move that costs 2.0 can be performed if you are only with 0.01 moves remaining. So it is important to take note of that. We do want to find the highest quality shard that we have, because if, for example, we use this 6d8.9 shard when crafting this item, it will actually determine the outcome of the crafting recipe. And let me just showcase that real quickly. So we got some strings so that we can attach the shard to the weapon. We don't know how to do that without the melee ability, but because we do, we can create this broad spear. Broad spear, the same condition as the shard, but we're going to use a better shard, and that's going to give us a better condition broad spear. Now that we have our weapon, we'll go ahead and throw down fight something. No, we're just going to grab our weapon and prepare to fight anything that may think it's bold enough, it's cocky enough, it's got, the strength, the wherewithal to take us down. Looks like nothing did. We are bleeding. I do want to go ahead and take this opportunity to look at our condition. As we said, we got cut and bruised earlier, so we weren't able to clean this wound out because we didn't have any liquid, any disinfecting liquid to clean this out with. Even water would be nice to wash it out with. And we also don't want to put a dirty rag on there. we would like to put a clean rag if possible to stop that bleeding. We may not be able to find one in time, so we'll see where we go from there. We do want to go ahead and at this time grab ourselves a quality torch to light and make sure you actually go through the different options because you may want to do something different than what it's defaulting to. So let's grab our torch that's lit and actually grab one of these dirty rags to put on our face. Now that's going to give us a wearing crude air filter, which will, block out any potentially damaging or hazardous airborne particles that we may encounter throughout the world. Not the best, as it is crude, but better than nothing. We can scavenge, do a whole bunch of other things here, but at the moment we're just going to run to town. Maybe go to IHOP, or apparently everything's been abandoned and it's in ruins, so it doesn't look like we're going to have much luck if we go to IHOP. But that's fine. We'll figure it out. We can survive. Again, this build was built for survival. We're a survivor, and don't worry. A turn later, I'm gonna die undoubtedly. Like that's just how it goes. Looks like there's a locked storage shed. There's an abandoned mobile home, and there's another locked storage shed. Locked storage sheds are amazing. There's no items on the ground, and we can't get into the locked storage sheds unless we have some small metal parts that we can make some lockpicks into, or a crowbar. So let's scavenge the only other location that is viable, which is that mobile home. And looks like we did find some assorted small parts. That is exactly what we wanted. We have a t-shirt, we have a hoodie, we can put some stuff in the hoodie, we can throw the t-shirt on, we can throw that fur coat on. Now, important to take note that the hoodie does have a pocket, and so we are going to start having pockets. We can also use this plastic bag, not in our pocket, as it defaults to if we just try to throw it over there, but as a backpack. It does fit into our backpack slot, and backpacks and other items that we carry on us at the end of our turns will degrade over time, so you can actually, between turns, throw it on the ground. Just throw it on the ground. Now, we can throw it on the ground, and it won't degrade in condition. However, by doing so, we do risk somebody running off with it. So it is important to take note of that. But we're going to go ahead and take this opportunity because we do have 14 parts. We only need 8, and so it will just simply give us some basic lockpicking tools. That's just perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. It's exactly what I wanted. Go ahead and bust into this. Use our trapping to increase our safety rating all the way, and then scavenge with a light source to increase our loot and safety rating, which was already at max, and get not a lot, but something in which to boil water. So now we have a consistent water source. With our build, we have a consistent, just really great start that we are going to be able to survive as long as we don't engage too many enemies in combat. Let's check out our second storage locker. And looks like we got a couple of shoes. Not the best shoes, but they're good. Now, it is important to take note this is improper because it's a right shoe. But you can wear it on the wrong foot. But if you wear it on the wrong foot consecutive turns, you will end up with blisters. I am going to actually change blue jeans. The reason for that is because these are at 4.2%. These not so much. These are in good condition. I don't want to leave this weapon just lying around. Will destroy weapons. So as with meat, we're destroying meat and weapons that we don't want to have, stabbed in our back. Another important thing that I did not mention a moment ago is that the quality of a torch will degrade over time. This particular torch is at 40% because we use it to scavenge 3 times. A torch will degrade by 20% each time you use it for scavenging and 25% between turns. So this torch has one more use since we are out of moves and we'll just end our turn there. I am going to take this opportunity to showcase how the disposable plastic bag will degrade over time if we're wearing it. So it's at 49.6%, and we're just going to end our move there. And check that out again. It's at 48.9 now. So it does degrade over time, as I just showed. We're going to go ahead and head up because it looks like there's a lot of woods around us. I don't know if we want to go into those woods. We do, however, want to go into some woods because we want to head up here. So we're going to go to our familiar woods and meet up with this little dog. The dog's going to want to attack us, so we have a couple of options. We're going to try threatening him to get him to run away. We can move further away, closer. If we retreat, he probably will decide to be more aggressive, but if we threaten him, he hopefully will be demoralized enough to decide, you know what, wasn't really worth encountering him, I'm just gonna take off. So he charged at me. He's now at 2 range, which means he's not close enough to hit me with his bite weapon, but I am definitely close enough to hit him with my broad spear. So we're just going to melee attack him once. He is now within range, but he's stunned and bleeding because we actually tore open his upper left arm. At this point, because he's stunned, we're just going to try to get a little bit of distance between us. We could continue to attack him, but I want to take the safe route and just get a little distance. Now, we've got a good distance from him. He actually looks like, let's just double check. He's just bleeding, and we ran from him, and he did nothing because, again, he was injured. Now, we're going to use the lure. That is the trapping ability combat skill. So we're going to use that. Oh, let's use it. And that actually got him to fall into a trap. So he's now on the ground, fallen, vulnerable, and bleeding. We're just going to advance 1 square. That will put him in range and put him hopefully out of our misery. Looks like we attacked him and got him once more. So he's still bleeding. He's now in severe pain from that last hit. So we lacerated his upper right arm. So we just keep destroying this dog. Like, I don't want to kill the dog, but dogs are such a threat, especially when they pack up, that we don't want to have to deal with that, because once a dog finds a leader and they start packing up, you're fighting so many different enemies, all close range, especially this early in the game when all we have is a spear, that I don't want to deal with having to try to manage each of those fights. It can very quickly escalate into a lot of wounds on us, and we can bleed out or get sick from that and potentially die. So, unfortunately, the world being what it is, this feral dog does not get to live. Went ahead and knocked him unconscious. He's in shock, fallen, because, again, we hit him and we tore open his stomach, lacerated his stomach this time. So we're going to end him, and now we have another dog, or another dog to go with our dog man meat. We're just going to leave the dog because we can carve him up later. He will degrade faster, and the meat on him will degrade faster this way, but I'm fine with that because I can still come back here, get the meat from him, and I know that it's good, safe meat because it will be cut directly from the dog instead of cutting it, leaving it out, and hoping that nobody messes with it. Now, it's not very likely that anyone would mess with it, but it is a potential threat, and I don't want to risk that at this point. We're gonna go ahead and just try to craft a couple of more quality torches while we have this opportunity here in the woods, and we do have room and a bag in which to carry these bad boys, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. Again, we do need our dirty rags, paper, or a couple of other different items that you can actually use in the manufacturing of a quality torch, because a quality torch, da 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 da, is made using stuff. I don't, oh, there it is. Haha. Oh, that's crude torch. It is made using a small flammable non-rigid sheet. At least for crude, I'm not seeing quality. It might be on the next page. Quality. Yeah, small flammable non-rigid sheet, mediums, and 2 small kindling, unlit. So, looks like the crude, doesn't require that kindling. So, that's the real difference. Also, the quality lasts much longer. So, using percentage of moves, making numerous torches, we do want to make sure that we're actually going to light our torch before we get too far into making all of these torches, get too amorous with it. And we don't want to use or make any more because we have that 0.1, and if we make any more, it will actually cost like 0.15, so we'll get that extra move this way. Let's go ahead and grab these bad boys. I do want to actually grab this string. We don't really have room for it, so I'm debating whether we'll keep the dirty rags for now. Grab our torch, destroy the damaged tree branch just in case. And this is probably safe, but if anyone messes with it, then that will become a problem. Now we do want to remember, because we are wearing improper footwear, we don't want to end our turn wearing this improper footwear, or else we will get blisters. It is important to also note that if you end your turn, you get blisters. Blisters do stack. So if you do get blisters initially, don't take off your shoes until you get proper footwear, because once the blisters from the improper footwear form, they won't create new blisters unless you take the shoes off and then put them back on. I've made that mistake before and ended up with blisters on top of my blisters, and it was just not fun having that negative to everything that I do. So let's go ahead and just run to this town. We'll make sure that we're all geared up. Looks like we got everything we need. And head out. Yep, I do want to, before we do that, one last thing, because we do have room for it. Grab that and go on. Looks like there's nothing there besides some tinfoil. And we're going to go ahead and scavenge. I'm going to scavenge the lock location, because that is going to give us the loot and safety rating that is highest. Looks like, yep, we need some string to tie these binoculars around our neck, but we did get a lighter. And as I said, take our shoes off. Don't need one on, because one on is not going to do us any good. It's not going to benefit us any. So we'll just take them both off. Remember to drop our bag, backpack, or vehicle. Vehicles will also degrade, and we'll find out about those later. But we're going to end our turn there, and we're going to actually just stop there. It's been about 30 minutes for this playthrough, and I think that, we only went to 2 locations, we're off to a pretty decent start. We got some, not high quality shoes since they are, two right-footed shoes, but we're off to a pretty good start. Got some binoculars. We'll make some string for them to hang around our neck and do some scavenging and just get our build up. Hopefully find a weapon or two and get off running because let's just check out this map. We got a lot of world to cover. I mean, a lot of world to cover. So that's it for now, and thanks for watching. Join us next time as we set out and try to survive once again in our Let's Play of Neo Scavenger.